But before we get to that, I think... and
I've got one other thing I want to show you on all this before we move on. So now, now we're getting into not PMI's content. We're getting into end-to-end flow, which is a product that my consulting company has. And the reason why I want to show this is, and you know, for all of you that are watching, if you're interested in this, I can help you from a consulting perspective, but you can also voice your opinion.
And we'll definitely put your information in the information below as well.
Because I'd love to have PMI have all of this content and then make it available to everyone. So the practices that are here, let me just zoom into this for just a second. And the recommended practices that showed up here, which are all the yellow boxes that are you're finding here. So we use a improvement backlog approach to do that. And one of the things that I want to be able to show is that if I were to come down and take a look at something like, let me try to pick one that's going to be, oh, actually, you know what? I did have one that was an example, and that was team norms. So I can open this, and this is right now in Miro as a Miro card, and you can see this goes beyond what you're going to find in the DA browser. I've got a brief description. I've got the roles responsible, supporting roles, related practices. I've got, this is what you would need to do to adopt this, some do's and don'ts, and a full description. These cards, if we were using Jira or any other popular work item management tool, we've got this already built where basically this just gets copied into a Jira project or Azure DevOps or what have you. And why I'm showing that is I want to be able to show that, you know, there are a few things that we have found work really well for enabling teams. And I've got the same approach that I'm going to show you at the value stream and enterprise level, in that you might need to do a little bit of training. We call it either micro or nano training, where a lot of these trainings, and I'm going to show you team norms, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes is all you need to understand what that practice is. Give you an example to walk through, and then do the work of creating an initial draft.
And you have these courses in online or what?
I do. So here's what it looks like. So here's a micro training, and I'm just going to, I'll zoom out just so that I don't super scroll. But this is something I can take and explain. So I have this for every single one of these practices. This would give you that 15-minute overview of the types of things from a team norms perspective. We've got adoption templates that are built in Miro. And each one of these, I'm going to start off with an example of going, you know, this is sort of the, you know, what we start with. And we typically are going to take a look at things from a process perspective, a behavior perspective, and a working with others, right? So we're creating some of the rules of how we're going to work. And so this gives everybody an example of what it looks like, how we prioritize them, and then some examples of norms that this particular team created. Again, we're not saying copy paste this. Additional notes as far as, you know, where we need to put them and, you know, what we're going to be doing in the future, some related stuff, and, you know, again, notes around the related practices. And then there's a template to get on with doing that work, right? So this also has little mini e-learnings. So this is something that, again, we can provide to like a PMO, and, you know, they're able to have a very repeatable, very consistent approach to doing these practices. Now, the next thing I want to show is, and you said visuals, most people are visual learners. I couldn't agree with that more. We see a lot of theory. We're going to get into a little bit of sort of like what PMI's courses used to have in them. They were certification courses. So what I'm going to show you now is part of this end-to-end flow model. This is what we would typically be doing. And again, I won't take you through all this because of time, but in Inception, we've got some of these practices that are part of the quick start. The team way of working, things like norms, definition of done, right? Definition of ready. Again, we're either going to create that the first time we're doing this, or we're going to take a look and possibly refine it, or maybe not have to do anything, right? Increment, value increment, or project over project. Cross-team ways of working, key activities. This, and I'll have to zoom out for a minute to show, this shows you going through Inception. This is a there's on this board alone.
Most most people who are even remotely interested in this would be stuck in the mud just conceptually thinking of where do I start.
Yeah, so this is, it's easier than it seems, right? And typically within an hour or two at a very high level, what I can do is I can show you, if you want to see what a persona looks like or what a persona is, again, this goes back to that card of, let's take a look at what it is. And then this is an example of what a persona could potentially look like. If you want to see how do we go through brainstorming to go from a feature to stories? Well, so here's the thing. This is like, if I'm a customer and I want to select a product so that I can purchase it, again, these are pretty simplistic examples to not overwhelm people. Yeah, I mean, typically we're going to stand and say, all right, Mark, well, what's the primary flow? Or, the group of people we've got, it's like, hey, we're going to search for a product, probably select from search results, look at an item, determine if we want to add it to cart. And then going from that to something that looks like this with some additional things we might do in the future. And then to be able to show, this is how those look as user stories. This is how we might see some primary and alternative behaviors. So even though it looks like, which there is a lot of content here, it's meant to be more of a reference to say, do you want to see what a story map looks like? And this is a story map